What's up, guys? David the Smash Fan here from Chibi No Podcast. And I just got done watching Cowboy Bebop, the live action adaptation that Netflix had put out, and I have some thoughts on it. So let's review.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
If you've never seen Cowboy Bebop before, here's just a brief summary. It all deals with Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, and Faye Valentine, and the main story is just their adventures together, how they meet up, and their life in this futuristic time period, which I believe I don't think they ever said the exact date, but I believe it's like 2070 or 2090, something like that, somewhere in the future, not too far from where we are now, but back then it was like that, around 70 years ago. And there's like other components to the show. So basically, that's just Cowboy Bebop in a nutshell, just their adventure with these three people and what they do to get money, which they hunt people that are wanted, so they're bounty hunters, and that's pretty much it. So the live action adaptation takes this show, which if you've seen it before, it's episodic, so like each episode is its own thing. It has its own theme, it has its own storyline, and really you can see one or two of these episodes, most of these episodes, without having to watch the entire series, and you're okay. They have interesting villains, antagonists. The tone really changes in the show, and so it's really cool. So it kind of reminds me like a Saturday morning cartoon, or like one of those old westerners, which it's a space western, basically, the show, where there's like, what's gonna happen next week? Let's tune in what new adventures they have. So that's kind of what Cowboy Bebop to me felt like. It did have some of these other storylines that maybe weren't prevalent throughout the entire show, but they were always there, and they'd always like dip into it a little bit here and there, you know, so we can see the growth of each character. And Cowboy Bebop, the live action adaptation, does something a little bit different, where they try and tie a lot of the characters and a lot of the storylines that are just kind of one shots, if you want to call them that, and they try and combine them together. And some people might like this, some people won't. I wasn't a big fan of them putting everything together, tying everything together, just because to me it didn't work. Like, it wasn't that great of an idea to do, and they should have really kept it episodic like they did with Cowboy Bebop, albeit, you know, changing how they meet, or how, you know, maybe not changing point A to point B, but changing how they get to point B from point A. One thing I want to praise about this show is the music. So the original composer, I think it's Yoko Ono or something like that, she came back for the show, and if you watch this YouTube clip, she talks about how she reused, or not reused, but used like maybe 10% of what she created in the original series, and then she created everything new. And that music just is amazing. For those of you that don't even like jazz, like I don't like jazz that much, but if you don't like jazz or you don't like that type of music, it doesn't matter. It really just sets the mood. It sets the mood for the show. It really puts you into the show and the characters and what's going on. It makes you really invested. At least for me, you know, I'm a musician, and I love that they incorporate music so much into each fight, into each scene, and I think that really stood out. I think that was on par, if not better, than what they did in the original series in terms of how they use their music. Now, some people might argue that, you know, they like that they only used music in the original anime in like certain places and certain situations, and that's why it might have made the music that much more important. But I just love music, and the way they incorporate a lot more and a lot more situations, to me, was a plus. Characters. So let's go over the characters. We have Spike Spiegel, we have Jet Black, we have Faye Valentine, the three main protagonists. I didn't have a problem with Spike. I think Spike was pretty good. I know people will say he's too old, or that he maybe wasn't the stoic, melancholic, or cool version that Spike was in the anime. But honestly, I think he portrayed him very well. The essence of Spike was there for the most part. I know they changed his character a little bit to be a little bit more feeling, I guess is the right word to say. He But again, like we also saw that in the original anime. Like when he first heard about Julia at one point, he like would drop everything and go to try and find her. So he also lived off emotions as well, but maybe didn't show it as much than he did in the live action. Jet Black, I can't say much about it. It was just good. They changed his story a little bit. You know, instead of his girlfriend, like I forget if she left him or something like that. But he doesn't have a family. But in this one he does, and he's trying to balance being a bounty hunter and being a dad, which is odd. I don't know how that would work, and it clearly shows in the show that it doesn't work. It's just he would have to pick his children or his child and stop being a bounty hunter for it to work, because those two lives are completely opposite. Faye Valentine, she probably had the most rework than all the other two in the series, and I feel like they forced a lot of things on her character that just didn't mesh well. They tried to make her a lot more sarcastic. They tried to make her a lot more not broken than in the anime, and they gave her tons of cheesy one-liners and like a potty mouth. Swearing doesn't really bug me, but like just the way that she said, like this is one point in where she's flying her plane and she is saving, I almost spoiled what, but she's saving or trying to save someone, and she yells like this cheesy line like blah, like something akin to like yippee-ki-yay mother effer type of trying to make it like iconic like that, but it didn't work. It was like ugh, cringe. Yeah, I mean overall, like I like some of the parts that they did for her. Like they made her a lot more relevant in the live action, so she was more active in fighting, she was more active in the bounties, and she had like a past where she caught bounties by herself. So that was really cool, because in the anime she did do a lot, but not nearly as much as she did in the live action one. They did change her backstory a little bit. I mean, she was frozen and she was in cryogenic sleep, but they changed who woke her up. What's his name, Matsumoto? They gender swapped him to an older lady, but I mean nothing like too big. That's just a decision they did, and it didn't really bother me. It was like, okay, they don't want to make it an exact copy and paste of the show. Good on ya. That, you know, do what you want to do. Those three I had really no issues with. I think the two characters that changed the most, that I truly disliked with so much passion, had to be Vicious and Julia. So Vicious in the anime, like he was like this mysterious character. We didn't know too much about him aside from he worked with Spike when Spike was in the syndicate. That he's very, you know, lives up to his name, Vicious. He's very vicious, he's very brutal, heartless. And in this one, they made him not vicious. Like they made him live by his emotions. Like he was always angry, or he was always like emotional, like type of thing. And he wasn't cool-headed. He wasn't like Spike. You know, you see a lot of similarities between Spike and Vicious in the anime. The way that they're cool-headed, the way that they process their situations, and in this one was just completely different, and it made him look weak, and it made him look like he's not the real baddie antagonist villain that we've come to like in the original anime. And it may be because I don't know why it is. I just don't like what they did to him. Julia. In all honesty, Julia was just kind of there in the anime. Like it didn't really matter too much until the very last 2 episodes, and then she, spoiler, dies. She gets killed. You barely get to know her. In this one, they try to make her more central. They show more of like this love triangle that she had between Spike and Vicious, and then how she becomes very bitter because Spike never came to see her, even though Spike knew she was alive and knew where she was, which is very different than the anime. And at the end, they do a twist, and the twist is that she becomes bad. Okay, it didn't make sense. Like, I know they're trying to make it different than the anime, but some of these changes were just dreadful. Like that one was horrible. The way they did Vicious. Some of the characters that had their own episodes, they were put to the side. Were more in the show, but they were just side characters. There was nothing important about them, and that was sad. I'm not gonna give away too much of the plot aside from the spoilers that I already gave you, but I do want to say this: there were really good points, good story arcs in this show. So I think my favorite episode had to have been episode 8, which has Mad Perrier. His was really cool. His was really faithful to the anime. I mean, they changed it to where they had Spike fight him the first time with Faye and with Jet, but showing that he really is a threat. Like that he really can't be taken out by one person, even though he does. He gets beaten by Spike. But like that whole episode was really good. Was my favorite one in the entire show, and I would highly recommend. If you don't want to watch anything else, I would recommend watching that episode, because I think that episode was done really well, and it was very faithful to the anime while also taking liberties and changes to it that didn't seem out of place in my book. Like the biggest change they did was, I mean, he wasn't out there killing bounty hunters or killing other people. He was an assassin for hire. He was hired by Vicious to take down Spike, which I think that's the only part I didn't like. Yeah, they're trying to incorporate Vicious into everything. Like he's always been behind these things that happen with the Bebop crew, and it was kind of meh. But other than that, yeah, great. Go see it. My overall thoughts on this show was that it was meh. There's tons of shows that are way worse than this. Tons of live adaptations that are worse than this show. There are also tons that are better than this. Like if you want to see a live action adaptation that really is phenomenal, go watch Rurouni Kenshin. Those live action movies. Those are probably the best ones I've seen. This one, again, is nowhere near what Death Note or Fullmetal Alchemist was that Netflix put out, but it's nowhere near higher than that. It's mid-tier. It was kind of steady. Like it's like this. The show was like this, just kind of, oh, it was there. I was interested. Like the first 3-4 episodes. Then I waned, and then episode I was like, oh, this is good, and then boom, just dropped. I would honestly give this a 6.5 out of 10. I'm really impartial to this. If you want to go watch it, go watch it. If you don't want to go watch it, don't go watch it. I'm not gonna tell you either or, because I'm really right there in the middle. I'm not more towards watching it or more towards not watching it. I'm just gonna be like, if you want to watch it, go. Because there are people that will like this version of Cowboy Bebop. I know there are. And for those people, good for you. They did leave you on a cliffhanger, setting up for season 2. I'm hoping to see what they do in season 2, because they left out a lot of source material that should have been included in there, but I guess they wanted to make 2 seasons, and so that's why they took out, and hopefully are saving it for season 2. One last thing, I forgot to mention this. Them showing Ed at the very end, and them showing a basically 1-to-1, exactly the same from the anime, is a reason why live adaptations are hard to do exact copy and paste, and why there needs to be changes. Because Ed, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, he acted exactly like how he did in the anime, but it was super cringy. It was super weird. Like that kind of being that eccentric does not come naturally, and it comes off just weird. It's like watching a telenovela, like a Spanish soap opera, and where they like have to be so eccentric or so over the top that it just makes you kind of look away, like I don't want to watch it. Like that's how they made Ed. And again, he was only shown for like 15 seconds at most, and so I mean, we don't know exactly if he's gonna stay that way or if they're gonna look at us and be like, okay, yeah, let's tone him down. But at least from the first impression, I don't like it. They need to tone Ed down a lot. They should have introduced him way before the end and get us to really know her and have her be part of the Bebop group. So yeah, 6.5 out of 10 is what I would rate this. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me if you liked it, what you didn't like. Maybe you scored it higher. Maybe you gave it a 2. I don't believe it deserves a 2. I think the lowest they should deserve is a 5, personally. But, let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. This is David the Smash Fan from Chibi Podcast, and I'm out.